And a major conservation plan is being developed to protect the South Island's unique alpine environment from Himalayan tahrs. The large goat-like animals were introduced to New Zealand during the early days of European settlement. The Department of Conservation says tahrs are wrecking native alpine tussocks in their search for food and destroying the ecosystem in the South Island's alpine regions. But it's hoped that a renewed focus on tahrs can help reduce the population. Our reporter Anan Zaki went to the rugged mountains near Mount Cook to find out more.
1,600 metres above sea level, overlooking the picturesque Lake Pukaki on the Ben Ohau range, it's easy to miss the signs. For the untrained eye, the steep mountains look like any other, with tussocks and rocks scattered around. But the Department of Conservation's Biodiversity Monitoring Ranger Ingrid Gruner says for those who know the area, it's quite different.
With my experience and what I've seen in other places, I can tell you that this used to look quite different. There used to be tall tussocks here, possibly quite dense in places, especially in the more moister areas. There would have been denser tussocks. There would have been up to your waist.
The Himalayan tahr has long been a problem following its introduction to New Zealand. DOC's Tahr Control Program Manager James Holborough says there are about 35,000 of the animals on public conservation land, with more believed to be on private land. The only way to kill them is by shooting, either on a helicopter or on the ground.
So high numbers of tahr have quite strong localised impacts. We won't necessarily see those impacts everywhere in the environment, but what we'll see, tahr tend to herd together, and where they herd together they'll tend to have quite strong effects. They're hooved animals, so their hooves tend to damage the soil, can damage the plants, they'll graze quite heavily.
Mr Holborough says DOC are in the early stages of developing a new plan to cull tahr. He says the plan is likely to indicate the areas DOC will focus on to reduce tahr numbers.
Probably like to be two phases of planning. We'll need to do some more tahr control next winter, so we'll be working with our treaty partner, Ngāi to develop that plan with our tahr stakeholders. And then we're also trying to make sure we can have a longer term plan that will run for, say, the next 5 or so years.
It's also now easier for hunters to record how many tahrs they've killed.
We're publishing information on where we've observed bull tahr over last winter's control to give ideas where the populations are. We've also got a recreational tahr app that we've developed with the Game Animal Council and the New Zealand Tahr Foundation. Hunters can use that app to report the tahr that they're shooting when they're out hunting.
It's hoped the plan will reduce tahr numbers to about 10,000, which will hugely benefit native tussocks. DOC ecologist Brian Ras says tussocks play a vital role in preserving the alpine ecosystem.
These snow tussocks, they're really like the trees in the forest. They're the canopy species, so they're the dominant in the vegetation here. And also like forest, they're old, they're very long-lived. These species will grow and live for several hundred years.
Ingrid Gruner says despite the tahr control plan, it'll take many years for the tussocks to recover.
It's a slow process because, we're in a very cold environment that is covered in snow for much of the year, so it's not an annual thing, so you won't see any difference next year. We've got some sites over on the west coast where things probably are a little bit more fast growing.
Despite the slow pace of regeneration, Dr Gruner says today's actions will help preserve the long-term future of New Zealand's pristine alpine environment. In Mount Cook village for Checkpoint, Anan Zaki.